Justine, tell me a little bit about your organization.
Well, we have 3 CCRCs in Exeter, New Hampshire. We have a CCRC that joined our organization July of 2016, so just about almost 2 years ago. And we're building a 3rd campus in Durham, New Hampshire, just 20 minutes away from our mothership.
That's great. And how is your board leadership? How are your boards structured?
What we have now, the Exeter campus is the primary, so it's our original campus. They have a governing board. The affiliate has a governing board, and then we have a parent board structure. And the parent board is really governs the full system.
Okay. So how do those affiliate boards? How do those affiliate boards link into the parent board?
Because Riverwoods Exeter, the original campus, founded and it has also funded the system, they have the majority of the members on the governing board for the parent. But every affiliate will have its own membership. At least one member of the governing board of the parent board will be from each of the affiliates.
And how often does your parent board meet?
We meet 6 times a year.
Okay. And I understand that you have a pretty successful board structure, that things work pretty well for you. What kinds of things do you think make that possible?
You know, I guess I would speak to 2 things. One, in the Exeter campus, so the CCRC in Exeter, that board is super engaged, for one. But one of the things we've done in the past is we've established what we call Disruptive Conversations to start the year. So the board is laying out what they want to be talking about for the course of the year, what are the big issues on their minds. In the past, it's been defining our financial philosophy. It's been defining our healthcare philosophy. What do we mean when we say we're a healthcare provider? And it's also been defining our charitable intent. So we're a type A, fairly expensive, but charitable nonprofit CCRC. What is our charitable intent? How does that play out? And they've spent several months talking about that. We've brought in speakers, we've brought in other consultants to help us think through the process, but they've also dove, what is the right terminology there? But they've jumped into that conversation themselves to say, are we charitable enough? So I think for us, the most important thing was laying it out at the beginning of the year, understanding what's on their minds, and then being able to bring in people to help them have the conversation and bring in people to help them think it through, and then also allowing them the time to just have the conversation.
Yeah, I think that concept of disruptive conversations is fascinating. Where did that come from?
That is a great question. Where did that concept come from? I really think it was a product of one of our board members is a governance consultant. So that's
a
my,
good place.
That's my
right.
best advice. Get a governance consultant on your board.
There you go.
But she's written several books, and I think it came from her. But I think it was a combination of may have been some advice from friends in the industry, but
it's fabulous.
Just getting people being willing. In just the titling for that, so if you call something a disruptive conversation, people know they're coming in to have a little conflict, and that's okay. One of the things we really try to bring forward is conflict is good. Conflict gets us to a better place. That's how we be better.
Right.
So we're not all coming in to just bless everything and move on.
Rubber stamp. Right.
Yeah. So that's Exeter. That's our CCRC campus. The parent board is much more focused on developing a system. We're really now just developing as a system. And their focus has really been on who do you want to be when you grow up? And are you going to like yourself when you get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so what does it mean to what really is our function, and then establishing that, and then establishing what do we need in terms of our staffing, but also our vision for the future of the system. So they've really been, they are much more focused, and I think this is one thing that is helpful. They're not focused on what's happening specifically at the communities. There are certain metrics they want to measure, and if those are happening, then the community boards are handling it, their focus is really about how are we growing ourselves as a system, and they're not getting into somebody else's business. And I
Very
think that's
interesting.
helpful.
Have you used any of the disruptive conversation technique at that area, at that level?
That's a great question. So the disruptive conversations really, in Exeter, have been something we've laid out at the beginning of the
Right.
year. So in the parent board, we really haven't. We've been in growth mode. So we've just basically are disrupting at every meeting.
Sure.
Establishing the organization, and then, are we going to go forward with a project, and then how are you going to finance it, and what are the roadblocks? So they've not had, I guess there's not really been a lull where you need to disrupt at that
Very
level.
interesting. So for organizations that are not having the success in governance that you clearly are, what kind of pieces of advice would you give them?
We have not always had successful governance. So I think some very basic things, if you think of the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, you have to have the right people on the bus.
Absolutely.
We had, several years back, we had the wrong board chair. And it really almost led to some of our board members leaving. It almost was the only time in my tenure there that I considered leaving myself. So, and in the course of multiple conversations, it was my job to convince that board chair to move along. So, the very first thing is you have to have the right leader. I don't think I understood, and for someone coming into the role as a CEO first time, we have a lot of newer leaders. I don't think you really know the difference between reporting to one boss or reporting to a team of volunteers. It's a dramatic change. And I personally did not recognize how important that board leadership was. And you learn very quickly when you have the wrong board.
Yes, I think we've all had that experience.
So, when you come into someone great, it's like, oh, this must be a
is
piece
easy.
of cake.
Yeah.
What are people complaining about? But when you have the wrong person, it's like night and day. So when you have the right leader, other people also want to join the board to work with that. So right now we have a board on both the Exeter board and the parent board. We have people on there that are other really great, smart business people in our community are drawn to the board simply because they want to spend time with
Those
a
people.
Beth or a Diane. I think the right people is critical. And then my other advice, particularly for a newer leader, is understand your board's role. When we had this really unfortunate board chair, one of the things that I recall really well is I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who's a much more experienced CEO. And I said, Kathy, I don't really know what to ask them. Like, is this reasonable? And her, she looked kind of shocked and almost disgusted with me and said, like, why would you not expect them to be great at this? They are great in their day job, right? Why would you not expect more? And so, that would be my next level. Understand the board's role. Understand what they can and should be able to bring to the organization.
And to you as a CEO.
And then be open to it, right? So I think sometimes we get to this level, we get to this position, and we think, I'm supposed to know everything. And so therefore I want a board that just thinks I know everything. And it's a much healthier relationship when you go into it saying, now I'd like to learn more about this. I don't know this. This is what I think. I do not know. What do you all think? And really being open to that. So I sit on some boards, and when the leader of the organization is really open to learning and growing with the board, it's a way different experience than someone who's just wants you to come in and listen to some reports and
Vote
yes. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I think that'd be my advice: get the right people, get the right leadership, and then actually use your board as a partner. If you don't, you're missing an opportunity, for yourself, for your organization.
Great advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.